sometimes when we're graphing, we end up needing to graph a horizontal line or a vertical line. Horizontal lines go like this from left to right, and vertical lines go like this up and down, okay, straight up and down. So horizontal lines, real life examples of horizontal lines. The horizon is a really good one to remember because horizon and horizontal, right? Horizon is like if you look out at the ocean, it's where the ocean ends, right? Like there's the ocean right here, and then here's the sky. It's called the horizon line right there. So that's a perfect example to remember of a horizontal line. You can remember the stripes on the U.S. flag, right? Those are like stripes that go across this way. Those are horizontal. Okay. Now, the way that horizontal lines look in an equation is it looks like this. Y equals a number. Okay, these are all horizontal lines. We're going to see y in a second, right? Let's think about how I would graph this line. Okay, so here's the first strategy. I could think to myself like, okay, y equals 4. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means if I have a point that's on the line, the y value is going to be 4, right? So let's see, the y value is here, right? This is x and y, and the y value is here. Now, x could be anything. This could be 0, it could be 1, it could be -5, it could be 7, it could be anything. So let's just give this, like, let's call this 0 and this 2. And if I graph these 2 points, if I graph 0, 4 and 2, 4, I can see the line will be here. And in fact, you can really think through this and think, wow, every point on this line, if I draw this line right now, if I draw this line, every point on this line has a y value of 4, right? This point over here is 3, 4. This is -1, 4. This is -2.5, 4, right? Each of these points has a y value of 4. So therefore, that is the equation, that line right there represents this equation, y equals 4. So that's your first strategy you could use to graph it. The other way you could think about this same equation is you could say, you know what? This is y equals, there's no x in it. Why is there no x in it? Because x is being multiplied by 0, right? So the other way you could think about this is you say, oh, look, I'm going to start at a y-intercept of 4, and then my rise over my run is 0 over 1. So I'm going to go up and down 0, right 1. And you could graph that line, right? So that's like another way to think about it. But you can see either way, you end up with this horizontal line, okay? And where's the horizontal line? You go to the y-axis, it's at 4 on the y-axis. So here for this graph, if I want to come up with 2 points that have a y value of -1, I could say, okay, I'm going to do 0, -1, and 3, -1, right? And these two numbers, I just made those up. I could have picked different numbers. I could have picked 1 and 2. I could have picked -3 and 7. I could have picked any two numbers, right? Because my whole purpose is that my y value, right? This is x and y. My y value is -1. Okay, I could also view this line like this. This is a line with a slope of 0. This is a line with a slope of 0, right? So I could say, oh, my y-intercept is -1. Now my rise over run is, I'm not going to rise, I'm just going to run, and it's going to look like this, right? And here's my point 0, -1, and 3, -1, and either way, I end up with a horizontal line here at the y-axis, right? I can go to the y-axis, I can go to -1, and then sketch this horizontal line. Okay, now what you can observe is anytime I have a line that says y equals a number, it's always going to be a horizontal line right at that number, right? So if I had the line y equals 3, I would go to 3, I would draw a horizontal line. If I had y equals -5, I'd go to -5, I would draw a horizontal line, right? If you remember it, you don't have to do all this work. Let's think about this y equals 0. So let's let's do 0, 0, and 4, 0. Where are those points? 0, 0 is here. 4, 0 is here. Looks like I'm drawing this line, right? If I use my other strategy, then I start at a y-intercept of 0, and then I'm not rising or run. I'm not rising, I'm just going 1 to the right. And we can see that this line, y equals 0, where do all the y values equal 0? On the x-axis, okay? So this line, the equation of the x-axis is actually y equals 0. Right? If I want to draw the x-axis on a graph, I draw the line y equals 0. Okay, so that's horizontal lines. Let's take a look at vertical. Okay, now real life examples of vertical lines, like if you have like a fence posts, right? If you have like posts like this, and then you might have a fence set up, right? That would be an example of vertical lines. And then there's flags, right? Like there's flags that have horizontal stripes, like the U.S. flag, among many other flags. And then there's flags that have vertical stripes, like for example, the Mexican flag. Sorry. Right, like the Mexican flag looks something like this, where the stripes are vertical. Okay, so if I'm going to graph this line, and notice there's only one strategy here, because this doesn't have, right here, I could be like, oh, it's like y equals mx plus b, y equals mx plus b, because it was y equals. But here, I don't even have a y. So I can really only use my point strategy, which is to say, okay, I'm going to make the x value 3. And the y value can be whatever, right? This can be 2, it can be -2, right? It doesn't matter. So if I graph this point, 3, 2, and 3, -2, we can see this line is the one that we're going to draw, right? Once we have 2 points, we can draw this line, and we can see what it looks like. And we can see that anywhere along this line, the x value is 3, right? Here's the point, 3, 0, 3, 1, 3, 5, 3, -2.5, right? So this line represents x equals 3, and everywhere along this line, the x value is 3. If I do the same thing with x equals -4, if I do that same thing, right? Here's -4, 0, -4, 2. We can see the line's going to be here. So if I have x equals a number, I'm going to go to that number on the x-axis. I'm going to go to that number on the x-axis, in this case -4, and I'm going to draw a vertical line. Okay, if I draw the line x equals 0, right, thinking about 2 points where x equals 0, here's 0, 0, here's 0, 2, we can see that's a straight up and down line right at 0. And what's this line called? That line is called the y-axis. So the equation of the y-axis is actually x equals 0. Okay, it'll just make your life easier if you just kind of memorize, like, okay, if I see x equals a number, I'm going to go to that point on the x-axis, right? I'm going to go to 3 on the x-axis, and I'm going to just draw an up and down line, because I'm going to think to myself, well, okay, here's 3, 0, and you just think, where's another point that has an x value of 3? Like, where's 3, 2? And you'll be like, well, it's here. You're like, oh yeah, okay, right, x equals is a vertical line. There we go.